Hey everyone, welcome back to another weekly Astro forecast for today, Tuesday, February the 3rd, going into next week on Monday, February the 9th. So happy to see you guys again today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic 003 on YouTube. And of course, also on Rumble. There are a lot of cool shows, so make sure you do not miss a single one of them. And if you want to book in a consultation with me, you can of course do that at the Beyond Mystic consultation page. And you can use Beyond Mystic to save 10% off. So, how is it going, my dear astrology lovers? Let me know where you are watching this from, and let me know how you are dealing with this current energy. And hey, Yana and Amy and Seventh Pillar. Thank you guys also much for joining from New Zealand. Very, very cool. So, the headliner of this week is Uranus stationing direct today. That is kind of a biggie. And of course, we are still in the aftermath of the Leo full moon that we saw on the 1st of February. So, this week, we're going to see the last quarter phase. While Uranus is stationing direct in the sign of Taurus, we're going to see multiple squares to Uranus from the entire stellium in Aquarius. So, also, the moon is going to activate a lot of different planets this week. So, yeah, it is really, going to be loud this week. And emotions, yet again, a bit reactive with Uranus in the mix here. And we just need to know that a lot of systems right now, they are adjusting. Uranus is shaking them up, shaking them loose. It's about liberation and shaking us free. But still, that can be accompanied by a little bit of restlessness. So think about innovation and adaptation instead of panic or anxiety, because Uranus is quite capable at doing that, especially as we are about to see a Mercury, our brain, squaring off with Uranus. That causes a little bit of mental restlessness for sure. So, of course, we can feel like when it stations direct Uranus, it means this internal restlessness and the sense that something needs to change. Now that's all the things starts moving forward again, and we can feel like something is around the corner. So let me know if you guys share that feeling, because for me, honestly, it is quite strong. So yeah, Jana says, I felt the shock. Yes, like a week before Uranus goes back direct, the energy is already quite palpable, and we can feel it quite strongly. And hi, Annabelle, and Love Warrior, and hi from Belgium. So glad you guys are all tuning in here today. So let's look at the first day of the week. Let's look at today, of course. So this is the big one here on a stationing direct. This is like a system reboot. And we can all collectively feel that we are receiving some kind of energetic update from Uranus. And it is really about expect the unexpected. And Uranus is very difficult to predict because it's about the unknown. It's about the things that like are not yet within our conscious mind. Uranus is like insights, sudden shocks, mindset shifts, new ideas, very new special energy that we are not familiar with coming in. So expect some plot twists this week as Uranus stations back direct, but it's going to do that very slowly. It is an outer planet. It takes a couple of days, even weeks, before it fully gets moving again. So it is going to be at the final degrees of Taurus until the end of April. By the 26th of April, it is about to shift over into Gemini. And then the US, the chart of NATO, the chart of the UN, and a couple of other important charts, they are all about to start their Uranus return. And that is quite massive because it's about to shake up all of these important charts that are very important in mundane astrology. So, yeah, this week, really pay attention. There can be a shift in timelines, an unexpected turn, and hopefully that's going to be one for the best. With Uranus, we never know. And of course, the collective themes here, it is really about money and the markets because it's in a sign of Taurus, which rules over our money, our resources, our possessions. Taurus also deals in regards to food supply, so we might see a little bit food chain disruptions, things changing in agriculture. We know that there is a lot going on with our dear farmers and those who are in a top position trying to really like get rid of the farmers. Of course, that's a whole other discussion, but yeah, we might see more protests, more rebelliousness up in the air because that also is all part of Uranus. But it can also be about currencies and even cryptocurrencies. They are all part of Uranus as well. So, on a personal level, it's what's actually no longer resonating because it's also about our frequency and about our consciousness. And we are receiving an upgrade and like a whole reboot. And it's really about like letting go or shaking loose and shaking free from the things we are no longer willing to tolerate. And of course, Taurus, it wants stability, but Uranus wants liberation. So you can feel this week like, I want to feel safe, but I also cannot keep living like this. And a little bit of a tug of war inside of yourself. That is like the core frequency of this week. And we also are going to see changes in the job market, changes within labor systems, because today we are seeing also that the moon is conjunct the south node in Virgo. And of course, Uranus is about to square with Mercury, and Mercury is a dispositor of the south node and thus also the moon today. So yeah, big ups and downs in the financial market, in cryptos and precious metals. That is, of course, already what we are witnessing right now. But we're not only seeing this in a collective way, we personally feel it very, very strongly in a physical kind of way. And Uranus, it doesn't just change our bank account, it also rules over our nervous system. So if you've been feeling wired and a bit restless and overstimulated, or you feel like you cannot fully relax like you normally used to do, that is Uranus here right now, really triggering our nervous system quite strongly. So our body feels and knows intuitively upfront when something big is about to change. And guys, February is really going to be a very historical month. You might even see some runs on the banks and a lot of volatility within the financial market. That is really going to be a very big theme here in the month of February. So, um, this is a big shift. Uranus at the end degrees of the sign of Taurus definitely also can be about extreme weather, unfortunately, because it also rules over volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and this destabilizing effect in regards to like the tectonic plates and a lot of frequency moving right now. So with Uranus always comes some kind of a big earth event or like some geological activity. And with that also can come more geomagnetic storms. So especially it's in an earth sign of Taurus. It correlates with very sudden geological events. And think about electricity, the grid, our power sources. Definitely, power sources is a very big one here, and we might discover new ones, or should I say, ancient ones. There is definitely going to be an emphasis on everything that connects us together and like the invisible systems as well. So, yeah, hopefully we're not going to see like a sudden release of pressure. Think about volcanoes because also Neptune is at 0 degrees of Aries, and that is the world point axis. Whenever planets conjunct that degree, something happens that affects the entire world. And Saturn is about to move to the same degree as well by the middle of February. So on the 13th, we're going to see Saturn ingressing into the sign of Aries as well. So there can be shocks and some kind of, yeah, tectonic plates. And like Jana here says something very, very important. Hologram tech is coming. Yes, because Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, Neptune is about our imagination and the invisible realms, the things we cannot normally see. And it's also about deception and illusion and really not being able to know the full truth in the whole story. Now, with Saturn coming in, it can be about like some kind of crystallization of the unseen realms. So we are able to see magic and omens and really like really special things on in our horizon. But of course, we need to be very, very, yeah, we need to use our discernment because it might not be exactly how it looks. And Mercury is also about to ingress into Pisces during the end of the week. And that is definitely putting another emphasis on that. So, yeah. And then John Dizzle says, it isn't easy, but realizing a spell is being cast, you can protect yourself from failing under its influence. Yes, and definitely Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, the world point axis, there can be some massive psyop, black swan event, something massive happening that is being, yeah, we're gonna be misled in some kind of way here with Neptune at such an important point here in our zodiac wheel, unfortunately. So sound bowls, Yana, exactly. Sound bowls or like frequency music, binaural beats, all of that really helps us to calm down the nervous system, and also breath work, of course. And using your crystals to guard yourself from the more negative energies, or like we're almost through the Mars Pluto conjunction. That in itself, it's still palpable, but Mars is now over Pluto. They're still pretty close, but the energy is going to start to wear off bit by bit. Luckily, that was a rather intense one. But definitely, as Mars at the end of Aquarius is also about to square off with Uranus, that is going to be another bit of upheaval that is about to come forward. Because also, Taurus, it is about like the Earth's crust, the tectonic plates, the land, the body, the five senses. Think about like fault lines. And with physical terrain, with Saturn that rules over that, that will then also be at 0 degrees of Aries. So there's definitely a very big major thing coming here quite soon. I already expect it to happen in the month of February. Might be an earthquake, might be rumblings from volcanic eruptions, or it might also be in regards to blackouts or yeah, the internet, the geomagnetic storms messing with our communication as well. Mercury is about to station retrograde here by the end of February, and that is also going to throw another plot twist in the mix. So if we then, yeah, maybe another thing I want to mention is that a very interesting guy that I like to watch is actually Stephen Burns. And he is actually talking about the increased possibility of like another Carrington level solar event. And that is actually quite in the mix here if we look at the astrology, because Uranus does rule over electricity and magnetism and solar flares, and we're seeing a lot of them lately. Definitely also in regards to technology. So yeah, we can see outages in communication or like the power grid getting like massively tested here while it switched back to its direct motion. With that comes, of course, like shutdowns or like blackouts in regards to certain platforms. There can also be like disruption of energy sources, all of that. But of course, the most important theme here is going to be the shocks within our financial system. And of course, we can already see that quite happening. We might see banks getting into big trouble. We also saw Kevin Warsh now becoming the new chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. That is because Saturn and Neptune are exactly conjunct the MC, the top of the chart of the Federal Reserve Bank. More changes coming, and even with Neptune at the MC, it can even get dissolved. So I'm actually very curious about how that's going to play out in the near future here. We're also, of course, seeing cryptos and other types of currencies or precious metals being manipulated or some kind of a correction, and is also due to destabilizing effects of Uranus. So yeah, also with like the incoming energy of the eclipse, we are now officially in eclipse season. We're gonna see a solar eclipse in Aquarius on the 17th of February, and that is also actually connected, or like the new set of eclipses that we are about to see right now. They are connected to 2008. So we all know what happened back then. Very big financial crisis, the dot-com bubble that bursted. Well, I actually think that we might see some kind of AI bubble bursting in the next 2 years. And we might get the first signs of that already within the next 6 months. And I know a lot of people are like, Astrid, you're crazy. What are you saying? Like AI is the future and it's going to take over the whole world and blah, blah, blah. I'm not so sure just yet. I know it's going to, yeah, replace certain systems, but it only works correctly for like 95%. And for it to be able to take over a lot of things, it needs to be working 100%. And that is something where we're still not here. Look at like the self-driving cars. They are blocking crossroads, and in the middle of the street they're blocking traffic because they are seeing some kind of shutdown or breakdown. And I just like think that it might not go as fast as we're all thinking. And there is a very big clue in the astrology that in the next 2 years, we're going to see another very big financial crisis. And I think that might be linked to AI and that big bubble bursting. I think they should have like progressed sooner and like, not that I want to, let me be very clear on that, but still, there are still some hiccups and some bugs and some things that are still not functioning correctly. It makes great images, yes. It can write big texts, yes, but like I'm still not truly or fully convinced, and they are really trying their best to install a lot of fear onto all of us in regards to all the AI. Of course, if you look at the UK and the facial recognition, that is something else, and I think definitely it's gonna be more integrated in our society, but I do not believe that it's gonna take over the entire world. So let me know how you guys are feeling about that, and yeah. John Dizzle says the wave quantum computer is being represented as AI. AI is programmed. Well, I think with Uranus shifting into the sign of Gemini quite soon, that there's going to be next level quantum computers coming up and a whole new breakthrough in that. But still, I think that there's so much money going into AI and it is just unsustainable. The costs are like way higher than like the return on investment, and something not being correctly right in that, and like everyone is convinced that it's not the case. But if you talk to people who are really in the business or within that field, they are actually agreeing upon that. So I'm actually happy to hear like another point of view from people who actually work inside of that field. And I think also Uranus is about shock surprises and things that we didn't see coming. Like everyone is expecting that AI is going to take over the entire world. It might not be the case, and that might become visible or like very concrete in the next 2 years. Maybe it's not going to go as fast as we are thinking. So that would actually be a very, very positive thing. Because apart from being used as facial recognition or as making these summaries of big texts and making great images, like, yeah, it's just like some new insights that I've received in the past couple of days. Okay, if we then move on to the 4th of February, that is actually the moon will still be in Virgo, but now it will start to oppose Saturn. And of course, Saturn, it is at 29 degrees of Pisces, the end of the end. This is actually about emotional adulthood. And Saturn in Pisces here, it's saying now, like, you've learned enough. Now you need to apply it. And it's also about wrapping up a 30-year cycle, actually a 36-year cycle, and really think for yourself, what do you not want to bring into this new cycle? And it can feel heavy, Saturn at a critical degree. It can feel sobering. It can feel like realizing you cannot avoid certain responsibilities anymore, definitely not within the spiritual realms or the emotional realms, which of course Pisces rules over. People right now collectively can feel very, very drained, very disillusioned. They can feel confronted with the limits and the boundaries of Saturn, and they are becoming more aware of like the emotional limits and boundaries within ourselves, within our job, within our relationship, and that can feel quite heavy. And it's definitely about maturity, but Saturn at the end degrees, that is not easy to deal with. And we're going to feel this energy until the 12th, 13th of February. This is where things get a little bit mad because 29 degrees, it is a critical degree, and it is an energetic degree. It's the most amount of energy that's possible within one sign, and Saturn is really about big, big consequences. And what rules Pisces over as well? People who are like look at the files that are being released right now, the Epstein files, screens being deceived, being popularized, idolized, celebrities, Hollywood. It is also all part of Pisces. And look at that, Saturn at 29 degrees. Of course, I also want to highlight that we're only seeing half of the files, like they released 3 million files, but there are 6 million in total. Now, I am actually rather curious to the other 3 million files, because the files that we got here, like our world leaders, they always dazzle the word disclosure in front of us, and they manipulate us with that word, because we've seen another set of 3 million files, and a lot of the names are blacked out, they are censored, we still do not know the truth. But I think here's Saturn at 29 degrees, and especially during the summer when we have a solar eclipse in the sign of Leo, that more things are going to get exposed, because also the South Node will enter into the sign of Leo by the end of July. And then it's really about things from the past who are coming up in regards to celebrities as well. So I think more disclosure is definitely underway. And how are you guys feeling about that? And of course, yeah, Jana says Prince Laurent of Belgium is now involved in the Epstein files. Yeah, there are a lot of new names coming up, and I'm not surprised that even people from my country here in Belgium are intertwined with the whole dark network. But still, so many names are blocked out. And I also feel like, why are they giving these files right now? Of course, Uranus, shock surprises, plot twists, and all of that. But yeah, could it also be another distraction or another diversion from like what's going on right now in Iran and other things? The financial market, our monetary system. There are more surprises coming up for sure. But now everybody just fully knows that the world is run by dark people, and I'm not saying all world leaders, because that's another thing that I've noticed so strongly. I saw so many people online saying things like, yeah, well, Putin isn't not in the files, Kim Jong-un is not in the files. Like, yeah, maybe they have their own network that we don't know about. It's like we need to be careful, and we need to use a lot of discernment with Saturn at the end degrees right now, and really Neptune casting illusions at like the world point axis. It's still too early to really see or know the truth fully. So okay, Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023, and that is now coming to an end as well. A lot of lessons around boundaries and mental health and spiritual integrity and disillusionment. And yeah, this is no gentle energy. This is like the final exam of Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is also about heavy, heavy karma. So that is also the reason why we are seeing all of these things playing out right now. Pisces wants to dissolve, but Saturn wants to define. So they're like, it is a hard energy. Really important for all of you to ask yourself within the next couple of weeks, like, where have I been like overgiving? or where are my boundaries leaking? Where am I avoiding responsibility by calling it spiritual? And where are you getting exhausted because you never learn to say no? We cannot bring this energy when it shifts over in the sign of Aries. This is really the moment where a lot of illusions collapse, and all the avoidance that got like swept under the carpet and got labeled like spiritual, all of that is getting exposed. And systems that relied on like faith alone, without reality, without structure, they are now also about to like fully crack. And Uranus is already really showing us the cracks in that. So if you feel heavy and emotionally drained, or like less tolerant of all the nonsense, then yeah, close the chapter for real this time. You are already here with Saturn at the end degrees, and the moon opposing that definitely tomorrow by the evening time for Canada and the US. That is gonna become even more strongly palpable. So let's switch over to another day, because on the 5th, we're going to see the exact square of Mercury and Uranus. And the moon is making like a kite aspect to almost all the outer planets. And yeah, it is really pointing in the direction of Saturn and Neptune. So you can see here the moon, the kite, and kites, they can go up or they can come crashing down. With Saturn at 29 degrees, I think it's pretty easy to see that things are going to come crashing down. If you feel more fatigued, or if you feel like I cannot escape the truth anymore, it's because Saturn is now really like showing that to you. Now, on a more positive note, the 5th is also a very beautiful day in regards to Venus, because Venus becomes visible again in the evening sky. So, guys, do you remember that Venus made a conjunction to the sun and then she got reborn as an evening star? Now she's more focused on relationships and other people. Well, now she's becoming visible again. So the sun doesn't block her out anymore. She's almost not combust anymore within 2 degrees. Then that's going to wear off. So now she's becoming visible again for our eyes. So she like officially re-emerged from the sun's beams. She's no longer hiding. She's no longer like operating behind the scenes of the sun's beams. And yeah, she becomes more visible. She's like things that we couldn't see before are now getting very sharp into focus, and very suddenly, because Venus is about to square Uranus here as well. So for the last couple of weeks, we've been in a kind of financial and relational fog. Decisions were sometimes a little bit made in the dark. Assumptions could have been like floating around in regards to Venusian themes. But now she's like, okay, let's look at it properly. And it can be quite surprising what's about to come up. Because the plot twist here, of course, is that she's, yeah, walking straight towards a square with Uranus. And this is like being able to witness now all the hidden costs, or like the unstable investments, also all the imbalances in give and take, and where money has been leaking, or where your values have been a little bit distorted, and also where you've been like underpricing yourself or other people. And now that changes, we're becoming aware, can be about very very big truth bombs that are about to be yeah, displayed, or like definitely major headlines around our financial system, because we can see that Mercury is exactly square Uranus. Venus is about to square Uranus. This is a very big shake-up moment. Mercury is the news, communication, markets, technology in the sign of Aquarius, and definitely Mercury in itself already deals with technological devices. So, guys, this is going to be a day, and it's already palpable right now, that our technological devices, they can glitch, they can like simply not work. There can be something strange going on, because Uranus and Aquarius, it is about weird things. And thank you so much, Risby. You're so sweet. Thank you. But also, The headlines can be changing very, very fast. The narratives can flip within like a single second. Tech disruptions, outages, all of that is going to be part of the next week, even 2 weeks. So, of course, we see the moon aspecting all the other planets. That is quite remarkable, actually. But the fact that she's opposing Neptune, there can be some kind of yeah unclear or unsure energy, and definitely being unsure about our emotions and trying to find balance in that, because the moon is in the sign of balance in Libra. So definitely, yeah, expect surprising announcements here this week. There can also be like disruptive leaks or like whistleblowers coming forward, and we're gonna see another set of viral stories that is gonna change the tone of a certain conversation like overnight. This is very quick paced energy here in the sign of Aquarius. So the moon then says, I want to be fair, I want to talk, I want to negotiate, and let's find a win-win situation. So yeah, tap into your diplomacy during this time and try to look at it from both sides. Because if you're going to choose a side, that might not be the entire truth, and even both sides might not be entirely embodying the truth. We might need to come into the middle. To We need to meet each other halfway when the moon is in Libra. So if we then move on to the 6th, then of course we can see that Mercury is about to ingress into the sign of Pisces, and he's going to do that more towards the evening time for ET time zone, because these charts are mostly always noon charts, like we're talking right now. But this indicates that at night, in the evening times during dinner, Mercury is going to shift over into Pisces. And actually, I personally feel that this is going to be a welcoming change because Mercury in Aquarius, it's really like thinking in these lightning bolts and jolts, and it's fast and detached and very objective and also very future oriented. But Mercury, it does not think in straight lines. It interprets everything in symbols and images, and in the sign of Pisces now in feelings and dreams and in intuition. So it is not yet again the mind that analyzes. That's more in Aquarius. Now it is the mind that receives. It's becoming more receptive to the unseen realms and all the other timelines that are available, and like the angelic realm, and becoming more guided within our mindset. But of course, we have the pros and cons of Pisces. Pisces can also be a little bit confusing if you're not well or fully grounded. But Mercury here, it's gonna hear not just what's being said, it's gonna like pick up the tone underneath of all of that, and it's more easily able to really feel the energy and the vibes. And it is great if you want to write poetry, or if you're a musician and you want to make new music. If you are a dreamer, you really need to interpret or like do a dream interpretation and write everything down, journaling about your emotions. But yeah, it's great for the intuition and for spiritual downloads, but it can also, if Mercury makes a difficult aspect in your own natal chart, it can cause confusion, projection, idolization, a little bit of mental fog. Try not to obtain clarity because Mercury is going to station retrograde by the end of the month. So, yeah, we're moving here more from like external logic in the sign of Aquarius to internal perception in the sign of Pisces. And there was so much mental speed in the last couple of weeks. And now it's going to move over to more emotional sensitivity. And yeah, this is really about like coming out of the information overload. And exactly, Ashley says, coronal mass ejection sunspot about to blow in the direction of Earth. Yes. Solar activity, geomagnetic storms, X-class flares, all of that is also partly it is ruled over by Aquarius, and Uranus rules over, is the planet of Aquarius, and now all these planets in Aquarius are going to square off with its ruler, and that is really costing like all the geomagnetic storms as well, actually. So right now we're in this information overload. We are overburdened with like our energy and our nervous system going a little bit haywire with all the Aquarius planets here. But now we need to move in more. After the last shocks here of the squares to Uranus, we need to move more into intuitive processing. Yeah, it's about to slow down Mercury before the whole review comes in the sign of Pisces. So where did like logic override your intuition in the last couple of weeks, and where did we collectively ignore our emotional truth? Did we get a little bit lost in the hive mind and the rebelliousness of the collective energy in Aquarius, and right now we need to like recenter whenever all the planets move over in Pisces and really connect to our center and rebalance everything and just look at it from our own intuition, and not what the media says, not what the hive mind says, not what maybe some community says, just like feel for yourself. And that's going to be very important. And we can also see this day that the moon trines the entire Aquarius stellium. This is actually very positive. Gentle communication, creative expression, good for like letting yourself feel without spiraling all too much. Although we see also an opposition from the moon to Chiron, there might be some moons getting triggered, but it's not a square, so we can meet each other in the middle during that day. And Love Warrior says, I have been bouncing off the freaking walls. Well, I have to be honest, Love Warrior. Normally, I'm very capable at being calm and collected, but like, yeah, I've went like working out, and normally after that I feel, and now I was still like, I can do another workout, and I was like, this is not helping my nervous system. And I was like, Uranus, please stop, let me alone just for a couple of moments. And like, I noticed that falling asleep is also more difficult the last 3 days. So let me know if you guys are feeling that as well. Uranus can be a little bit feisty from time to time. And I have something very cool to share with you guys. I've already talked a little bit about it recently, but I'm actually preparing the Aquarius eclipse workshop. And of course, it is a very powerful astrology webinar that I'm about to give you guys. We're going to explore all together the solar eclipse in Aquarius that is about to happen on February the 17th. The live webinar goes on the 15th of February. So we're gonna be in the eclipse portal all together, just experiencing the energy, and we can like exchange our thoughts. I can give you guys some feedback on questions. And of course, I'm gonna explain a bit more about this whole Aquarian eclipse that is about to kick off. And we're also gonna be looking at the Saturn Neptune conjunction and what that brought in historic cycles. So you can tune in if you want on February the 15th, and that will be at 11 a.m. EST. And you can use Aqua 10 to get 10% off. And you can, of course, find it in the link below. I've put it in the description box. And you can also find it, of course, at the Academy of Beyond Mystic. And then another cool thing that I can share with you guys today is that Floraline is actually giving 10% off on her beautiful soaps. And oh my god, guys, they smell so good. So let's celebrate love together with like this limited edition Valentine soaps. They're crafted with a lot of care and a lot of intention, and all these ingredients are all natural. So you can get 10% off with promo code BM10. And of course, this is like a limited quantity that is available. And you can find that also at the Floraline farm. And you can buy something nice for Valentine's Day. All right, guys, back to this week's astrology. Because On Saturday, it's gonna become a little bit more intense, you guys. And yeah, and Ashley says exactly. Valentine's is the day after Friday the 13th. Lol. Yes, and another lol is that Saturn is about to ingress in Aries on the 13th, like just in time for Valentine's Day. So yeah, I'm wondering what that will bring to the table when you're having this cozy dinner with your husband or wife. But still, Saturday here, February the 7th, yeah, we see that the moon is about to ingress into Scorpio, and of course, it's gonna square off with its ruler Pluto. So yeah, this is like really emotional ignition. Saturday can feel a little bit more tense, a little bit more deep. This is like a day where your emotional antennas they go underground and they feel everything what's not being said. So yeah, moon in Scorpio, it is already intense, of course, but the fact that it's going to square off with its ruler Pluto, and the moon, she wants truth, not vibes, not like possibilities. She just like wants to full truth, and she's going to be very able and capable to tune into the vibes and the things that are not being said. So the square to Pluto is really showing that the moon in Scorpio is going to like stare into its own mirror. Perfect if you want to like emotionally purge something, but be careful not to get out the stinger and hurt other people. We might need to focus a little bit more on our shadow work. If you've already been dealing with some power dynamics, then that can resurface during that day. Also be careful that you not get stuck in these emotional obsessive loops inside of yourself. We're definitely going to see that playing out in the collective as Pluto is now in the sign of society. So yeah, control issues are going to be triggered in some kind of way. And yeah, it can also again correlate with a lot of scandals coming up from like very high up positions. Aquarius rules over politicians. It's also about online conversations that can get very intense. And it's like a very big question like who right now is controlling the narrative, that kind of energy, and really going to the depths and getting your magnifying glass to actually investigate everything that is going on right now. And honestly, there is a lot going on, right? So I want to warn you to limit the whole doom scrolling, protect your energy, get some shunga guide, get some black tourmaline, look at the Ascensions Organite website if you're looking for more crystals to protect your energy. Be mindful with escaping into certain substances. Not the best day for drinking, although I never drink because I don't think there's any good day for drinking, but that's just my Virgo rising. That's a bit boring from time to time, but still, if you're gonna like indulge in some kind of substances, then it can really like explode. Because if we look at the next day, we're actually seeing that the moon in Scorpio is about to square off with the entire Aquarian stellium. We are seeing around noon Eastern time an exact square of the moon in Scorpio with Mars. Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So, yeah, this is a bit tense. And the exact square of Venus and Uranus on the same day, yeah, this is a bit dense energy. Luckily, we have a beautiful outlet here towards Jupiter in Cancer. So yeah, we might need to channel our deep, intense emotions into being creative at home, having some family conversations, but still be careful here with the square to Mars. Definitely more protests kicking off here with people who are very angry and disturbed. And we've just saw so many new disturbing information coming out in regards to the Epstein files. And this is going to be a day that we might have even more intense news about that coming off, like coming up. So yeah, the Venus square Uranus is also like there can be sudden detachment in love, craving more freedom. There can be some changes in relationship dynamics, and it's also going to put a spotlight on financial unpredictability. So, yeah, on the positive side, it can also bring very unexpected, sudden attraction towards someone new, sudden change of heart, or like a feeling like I cannot do this anymore. Now I'm gonna break the chains, and now I'm just gonna like free myself. But be careful about like impulsive spending, because you're a little bit emotional here with the moon in Scorpio, and we can like escape here with Saturn at the end degrees of Pisces into our coping mechanisms. And if you are someone who likes to buy things to empty the void, to fill up the empty void, then you need to guard yourself against that. And this exact day, but also the days that are leading up to that. On the world stage, big financial news that is about to come out for sure. So yeah, tell the truth. Just do not weaponize it, or it's gonna backfire certainly. So if we now look at the ninth, this is interesting. Look at the moon. She's making so many aspects again. But the most important one is the square to the sun, and then also towards Venus. Venus is at a critical 29 degrees, still in contact with Uranus, even though she's already passed over the 27 degree. Still, Moon here opposing Uranus, squaring towards Venus. What we've learned on the 8th is going to have a lot of big ripple effect into the ninth. Scorpio, it is about big money. Taurus is about money. Like, this is the financial axis. And Scorpio is hidden money. While Taurus is more like our possessions, what we value, our pricing. But this is really about like taxes, debts, inheritances, all of that, is getting triggered with the opposition to Uranus and the square to Venus. So we are seeing kind of a very intense T square that is going to start on the 8th, going into the ninth, and that is going to be unsettling, definitely on a financial level. And I also want to give you a little bit of a teaser on the 10th, because we are then going to see Venus ingressing into the sign of Pisces. And I know this is normally for my next forecast, but Venus in the sign of Pisces, that is going to change the tone completely. She's going to be in her exaltation. She really likes to be in Pisces. So in Aquarius, she was more like, do we share the same values? Do we have the, this is like more about loving like-minded people, and finding bliss and comfort, and like acting a little bit rebelliousness together. And it was more like, is this fair? Is it future oriented? Is it ethical in the sign of Aquarius? But now, as she moves over into the sign of Pisces, she's more like, do I feel safe enough to melt in front of you? And does my soul feels seen and heard? And are we spiritually connected to one another? And yeah, Venus here, she's actually taking off her unpredictable armor, what she was wearing in the sign of Aquarius. Now she's no longer observing like the big crowds. Now she's more into feeling everything. So love becomes more unconditional, compassion can expand. This is really also about a deepening of empathy, and yeah, romance can get quite poetic. And look, guys, because for my next week's forecast, Mercury, Venus, and the North Node are about to align for Valentine's Day. And like, I love the astrology this year for Valentine's Day. Apart from the Saturn Neptune conjunction, having Venus, Mercury, and the North Node all conjunct in the sign of Pisces, like, this is destiny. This is like the gates of karma opening up. The North Node is where we need to lean into, where we need to, yeah, progress towards, where we need to put focus and attention on. So, a desire to love and talk in a very spiritual way. Romance gets so poetic, desire becomes more spiritual. If you bump into someone in the next week or two, then this can be soulmate energy. It can also be about having some kind of like a task in forgiveness. It can also be about second chances because, yeah, Mercury is about to go retrograde. If you have Pisces on the seventh house cusp or in the fifth house, then you might bump into your ex, and that can already happen before Mercury goes retrograde, as it's now going to be on a north node next week. And if you're very creative, if you are very attuned to the mystical, unseen realms, then you can have a lot of inspiration, artistic inspiration. This is really like about deep emotional soul bonding. So it can also be about feeling very nostalgic with the energy about to go retrograde, Alan Mercury. But yeah, people feel like it's destiny to become more emotionally available, more open to connection. Uh, it's about sensitivity in the sign of Pisces. Of course, on the world stage, that is going to have another implication, of course, because we know Pisces rules over lies and illusions and deception. But I want to keep it on a positive note here and want to end this forecast on a personal level that is actually looking pretty good. Now, this day, I also want to mention that the moon will be conjunct Black Moon Lilith, and she's quite feisty because these are the parts that are rejected, that got rejected. We were ashamed, and now we are like stop suppressing the emotions. And yeah, of course, first the planets and Pisces are gonna square that. But definitely the moon on Black Moon Lilith. Be careful about what you say and how you act, and just do not completely rebel for the sake of rebellion. Like, luckily it's not squaring the Aquarian stellium, so that in itself is very, very positive. So yeah, focus on music, dance, romantic dates more towards the end of the week or like next week. And this is also really very beautiful for self-care and emotional healing. And Venus and Pisces is also like reminding us that love, it is sacred, but boundaries are part of the whole devotion too, and that is something that we need to be mindful about. So yeah, Black Moon Lilith and the moon. This is really like I'm done being polite about my needs kind of energy, and that clashing with the heart and the mind. So we need to be a little bit careful. If we feel a certain rise in our emotional needs, make sure they're balanced and they are not about causing more chaos here during this time. But overall, be gentle with yourself here with Uranus switching back direct. Stay centered, stay aligned. And thank you so much, Amore, and stay in cis. Whatever energies will need to surf the waves instead of being drowned by them. Exactly. We are not here to drown anymore. Like, the drowning is over. We've been drowning for the last 14 years with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Now we still need to go through Saturn at its end degrees. But no, it's no more time of drowning. It's time to strike the match. But be careful not to set the house on fire, because Aries is quite impulsive and it can act first and think later. But like, Neptune in Pisces was really about, yeah, staying stuck in the mud, fantasy, illusion, meditating on the couch without taking action. Now we can meditate on the couch, but after we're done, we need to pick up everything and we need to make our dreams come true. And that is the beautiful energy that is about to be installed here with the Saturn Neptune conjunction. And John Dissel says the age of harmony, Aquarius, different views, voices expressed at the same time and making something new, beautiful, amazing. Exactly. Like with the state of the world right now, it might seem like the house of cards, it is crumbling, and I see a lot of panic. I sometimes also feel like I always then like I live in the harbor nearby the sea, and there are a lot of seals. And sometimes when I feel like my chest is being blocked, like then it reminds me of the seals in the neighborhood, and then I always tell to myself, like, Astrid, stop being a seal, just breathe, calm down. The house of cards is crumbling because something more beautiful is about to emerge, but we're gonna need to pass through that stage for sure. So yeah, we all need to just connect with one another, give each other advice, give each other peace, and it's all gonna be okay. It's just gonna ruffle a little bit over the next 2 years, but definitely we're gonna get through it. And thank you guys also much for your very sweet comments. I'm looking very, very much forward to talking more about next week, as like I feel now Uranus is still like turning and switching to its direct motion, but next week things are gonna start to be more like coming into motion, as Uranus is then gonna start to increase its speed. So I almost do not dare to say it, but enjoy the calm before the storm. And I know that sounds a little bit weird with all the things going on right now, but still, by the end of February, the world will be changed, and there is no going back to the old world anymore. And that's maybe the best, because with everything coming out of all the people in Epstein files, it is really time to like take care of our children. And that is so wild that that all came up during the full moon in Leo. Leo rules over our children, so that is such a beautiful time where we are confronted with like the universe, it's having our back. This is like divine intervention, even though it's only half of the files they've been releasing, and I'm very curious about the other half and the other 3 million still. It's like getting through, it's getting pushed through the cracks. There are cracks appearing, and the dam is about to break, and it isn't necessary. We cannot continue in the same way. And also in regards to our monetary systems, and like the fiat currency, it is all like a bubble. And yeah, if you look at the Tartaria videos where there wasn't even money, it is just like so beautiful to ponder upon, and to know that it is actually possible. So let's hope and cross our fingers that we are going to move towards such an age again. So thank you guys also much for being with me here today. Of course, if you want, you can book in a session at the Beyond Mystic consultation page. You can use Beyond Mystic to get 10% off. And also, we have the beautiful Crystal here that is gonna host her Beyond Karma show tonight live at 5 p.m. EST. So, thank you guys all so much, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.